You ever have one of those mornings where you just know the universe is about to mess with you? That was me standing in my garage watching Patricia Henderson's snow-buried Mercedes, glinting across the street wheels, half lost in a drift from the worst blizzard Minnesota had coughed up in 15 years. I didn't even have my gloves on before I spotted her high-stepping through knee-deep powder in a pair of boots that cost more than my first car headed right for me. I swear in that moment I'd have given anything to just disappear into the nearest snowbank. But no. She storms up, ponytail swinging, doesn't even say good morning, just launches into Ethan. I need you to shovel out my driveway. Now. I have an important appointment. Let me back up. Name's Ethan Norris, and for 8 years I've been living in Riverside Meadows, Eden Prairie, a neighborhood where folks like to say community matters, at least when the HOA president is listening. I moved here when my snow removal business, Arctic Solutions, finally started to grow legs. What started as just me, a rusty Chevy and a plow, turned into a full operation, 18 trucks, a couple of heavy-duty blowers, and 22 employees, most of whom were probably still asleep when Patricia started her march of doom. Now here's the kicker, the HOA's snow removal company, the one Patricia hired each winter and cussed out by spring, was mine. She never knew. I made sure of that. My partner Marcus handled all the front-end stuff, the contracts, the invoices, the endless parade of neighbor complaints. My name never on the paperwork. I liked being the quiet guy who fixed things, not the guy fielding threats about Better Business Bureau reviews before breakfast. That morning I'd been up since 2:30. The whole Twin Cities was shut down, interstates closed, governor declared a state of emergency, schools out, wind howling like a banshee through the pines. I'd knocked back 3 energy drinks and cleared more parking lots than I could count before sunrise. I was wiped. So when Patricia stomped up and barked, "Get over here and shovel my driveway. I have an appointment at 10, I couldn't help myself. I almost laughed. "Patricia, the city's shut down. No one's expecting you anywhere today," I said, trying to keep it light. She just stared daggers. "That's not your concern." Section 12, paragraph 4, mutual aid in emergencies. You're required to help. See, I'd read those bylaws front to back, usually in self-defense. Mutual aid meant helping if someone was in danger, not playing her personal snow butler because she'd overscheduled Pilates. I told her as much. She doubled down, voice hitting that glass-shattering pitch that made dogs bark 3 streets over. "I'll be documenting this refusal, Ethan. That's a $500 fine." I could feel my jaw clenching. "Patricia, I've been working all night. I've got more properties to clear. Call your snow removal company." She shrieked, "I have left 4 messages for Arctic Solutions. No response. I'll report them to the BBB Sue for breach of contract. But right now you're shoveling my driveway." She pointed at my snowblower, then at me, as if the universe itself owed her. I told her no. Again. She stormed off, flailing through the drifts, and yelled back, "Emergency meeting tonight, 6 p.m. Your attendance is mandatory. And if my driveway isn't clear, that's another $250 fine." She barely made it back to her door without face-planting. I just shook my head. 3 years of this nonsense, and it never got old. Phone buzzed. Marcus Henderson's calling again. What do I tell her? I texted, schedule her for this afternoon. Regular priority, and then I went right back to work. See, Patricia was about to learn something important about treating people, especially the ones shoveling your snow, with a little respect. Rest of that day, brutal. My crew and I were hip-deep in slush, fighting wet, heavy snow that broke shovels and jammed up the blowers. By noon, we'd only hit half our list. Around 1, Marcus called. "Boss Henderson's threatening lawsuits, BBB, you name it. Wants you, the owner, to call her." I had to smile. "You tell her the owner's in the field. Can't talk till evening." Marcus laughed. "She's going to lose it when she finds out." I finished my shift, headed home, stripped off my layers, and tried unsuccessfully to nap before the HOA showdown. Tony, my crew lead, called from Patricia's. "Boss, this driveway's a mess. Gonna take at least an hour." "Take your time," I told him. "Document everything." At 5:30, I bundled up, walked over to the clubhouse, really just a glorified shed with heat, but Patricia had insisted it sounded fancier. 12 folks bothered to show up bundled like Arctic explorers. Patricia called the meeting to order like she was presiding over the UN. "Thank you for coming," she began, putting on her most official voice. "We're here to discuss a serious violation of our bylaws, specifically Ethan Norris's refusal to provide emergency mutual aid." People turned and stared at me. I stayed cool. Patricia went off about her medical appointment, how I'd endangered her, and of course how Arctic Solutions had failed her as a company. I could see Mike, my neighbor, grinning from the back row. He knew something was up. Patricia proposed two things: fine me $500 for refusing to help, and fire Arctic Solutions. I stood up. Section 18, paragraph 2. Patricia residents get to respond to accusations immediately. She glared, but relented. I explained clearly and calmly that the bylaws required aid in true emergencies, not whenever someone didn't want a shovel. If you'd had a real emergency, you could have called 911. You wanted to leave. That's not an emergency. Donald, her board ally, piped up. If it was urgent, the doctor's office would have rescheduled. State of emergency and all. I went on, being a good neighbor means helping each other. But Patricia, when my fence blew down last year, did you offer help? When Mike's roof got wrecked by hail, did you organize a work party? It works both ways. And then time for the reveal. As for Arctic Solutions, let's be clear. Your contract says service within 12 hours after snowfall ends. My crew was there at 4 p.m. I have photos, timestamps the works. I held up my phone. Your mailbox all cleared to spec. Patricia stammered about terrible customer service. I turned to the room. Just so you know, I own Arctic Solutions. Marcus runs the paperwork, but it's my company. You could hear a pin drop. Mike grinned wider. Patricia's face cycled through every shade of red known to man. That's fraud, she cried. You can't live here and run the company. It's legal, Patricia. I just kept it quiet, so I could see how people really treat service folks. Now you all know how she talks to the people working through a blizzard to keep the neighborhood running. I played Marcus's call, recording Patricia's voice screeching about lawsuits threatening reputations. When it ended, half the room looked like they'd swallowed a lemon. Mike stood up. I moved for a vote of no confidence in Patricia Henderson as HOA president. Seconded, third, and fourth. The vote wasn't even close. Patricia was out. She packed her things and stormed out, swearing lawsuits. The rest of us sat for a second, then the applause started. Folks thanked me. Mike clapped my shoulder. That's been a long time coming, man. That night, for the first time in years, I actually relaxed. I called Marcus, filled him in. He laughed, told me to consider running for HOA president. Not a chance, I said. One riot per lifetime is enough. Next morning, the blizzard was back, and so was Patricia. This time, she canceled her contract cold as ice. Let her, I told Marcus. Just do the job right through her 30-day notice, no complaints. Turns out most of the old board quit too. Mike ran for president, new folks took over. First order of business: suspend all those ridiculous fines Patricia had slapped on people for Christmas lights and mailbox colors. Second, thank Arctic Solutions for keeping the neighborhood afloat. A few weeks later, Patricia's house was on the market. I heard she was headed to Arizona. One spring afternoon, after she'd moved out, Mike brought over 2 beers. You did it, he said. Neighborhood's a better place now. I just shrugged. Sometimes you've got to stand up, that's all. Months went by. Neighborhood events came back. People started helping each other instead of hiding from the HOA. I even agreed to help rewrite the bylaws, cut out all Patricia's nonsense, clarified what counted as an emergency, and gave folks a real appeals process for fines. 92% approval. Not bad for a guy who just wanted to shovel snow in peace. The story should have ended there, but life likes a twist. One summer night, my phone rang. Arizona number. Patricia. She sounded different. Quiet. She apologized. Said therapy had helped her see why she'd been so controlling, why she'd taken her anxiety out on the neighborhood. Told me I'd been right that day. I said thank you, told her I hoped she was happier. She was. We hung up. I never mentioned that call to anyone. It felt private, somehow sacred. Years passed. The business grew. I sold my share to Marcus, started a new venture. Riverside Meadows turned into a real community, kids playing, neighbors grilling, folks looking out for one another. Mike did a couple years as president, then let someone else step up. I served as treasurer, handled the books, kept my head down. New people moved in, never knew the old HOA drama, except for the story folks like to tell about the blizzard, the driveway, and how the guy with the snowplow finally stood up to the bully. You know, looking back, I realized the biggest lesson wasn't about bylaws or board meetings or even standing up for yourself. It was about how one small act, just saying no when someone tries to push you around, can change the whole temperature of a place. People aren't heroes because they want to be. They become heroes because the moment demands it. Every winter when the snow falls, I still watch the trucks roll by, remember that February morning and smile. That blizzard buried more than just driveways. It buried an old way of living under someone's thumb. What came out when the snow melted was a neighborhood ready for something better. So here's my question for you. What would you have done? Where's the line between being a good neighbor and letting yourself get pushed around? Ever had to stand up to a bully? Maybe even when everyone else was too scared to drop your thoughts below. Tell me your story, or just let me know what you think is fair. Because at the end of the day, what really makes a neighborhood isn't rules, it's people willing to look out for each other no matter what blows in with the storm.